Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, I am really up in y'all's face today. Hi, y'all. It's been a little bit. I hope y'all have been doing good while I've been gone. I have been enjoying my break time, and I think I'm gonna plan a break from now on instead of just like randomly being like, oh, I need time. I think I just need to uh plan for time. And so, if you have been watching the posts on that you can put up in for the channels and stuff on YouTube, I posted about it. Um, it'll be like mid-month, about a week, but that way we're not surprise. Strange doesn't want, well, not doesn't want, can't stream now. And that way I can also plan all of the necessary appointments I have to get, or most, I'm not gonna say all, most of the necessary appointments I need to do. I can plan them pretty easily, you know? But yeah, I hope y'all have been doing good. And you're ready to just kind of hang out. Hmm. And of course, I come back and my stream stuff is not happy with me. As you can see today, we're just going to do our regular old lore and lunches. Well, we used to do the lore and lure, but I feel like doing quests. This is so odd. What is going on with my stream? Um, but yeah, we're gonna just do our regular old stuff. The questing and reading lore books like this one, Mounts of Tamriel, Volume 2, Wolves and Foxes. Oh yeah, they added those new mounts in. But we're just gonna do our old thing. We're gonna wander around, do quests, and read the books, and talk, as always. And as far as I know, unless something surprise happens, I don't have anything planned this week, appointment-wise, so I should be good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Also worth noting, our community nights are just going down to Friday nights. We've been playing 7 Days to Die. I guess we'll hang out with 7 Days to Die. Everybody seems to be enjoying that, and so if you would like to play 7 Days to Die with us, we still have plenty of slots open in the world. Just join the Discord, which I believe, if I recall correctly, YouTube has, like, if you go down to the underneath the video and you click on like more under the description, it'll bring up like a little tab that has our Discord link, and you are more than welcome to join that. And it's notifications when I go live, when I go on break, when I feel like posting something silly from Elder Scrolls, like memes or recipes, or when we hang out. Hey, Chico! But yeah, I was just saying that we're moving to community nights only on Fridays. It was pointed out to me that I technically only have one full day that I don't have stream or Discord related stuff, and I was like, oh, that's not good. How you been? So just giving you a heads up, we're only playing on Fridays now. Hey, shenanigans! What y'all been up to? I had a good week. It was a nice week. I was talking to Phil about putting up cattle panels in my garden because my garden has gotten so big that your standard supports can't support any of my plants anymore. They just fall right over. And so oh, thank you for the little floaty hearts. I need chapstick. But yeah, I was talking to Phil, and I was like, I bought these special arches. I don't know if you saw them, Shenanigans, when you came over last, and I built them. They're supposed to be like supporting each other type thing. It's 3 arches that support each other. It fell over that same afternoon. The plants are just too heavy. Oh, Chico, I'm sorry, hun. Are you doing okay now? I hope you're doing okay now. But yeah, no, I have to get cattle panels up. So, I mean, it's not a bad problem to have. Like, let's be honest here. Having such ginormous plants that they have to be supported by cattle panels, not a bad thing. Good. I am glad. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're just gonna wander around playing ESO this week. I think we still have like 2 weeks technically left in this month. Let me double check. We have oh yeah, so this week we'll do ESO, next week will be Palia. Actually, they added some new mounts in ESO, and then they also added, this is really cool, let me show you, where you can change the difficulty of the world. So adventure is like baseline, but then you get up to more difficult levels, and the more difficult the level that you do, the better the stuff you get. Excuse me. But I'm not necessarily interested in that at the moment. But that's really freaking cool. And then they added a new Golden Pursuits. They added a new one. This is for me because I haven't been, like, I haven't played on this account. I've been playing on PlayStation. But they have where you can, if you defeat enemies on higher difficulties, you get rewards. So that's pretty cool. Actually, you know what? I might up it to seasoned, and just that way I can farm those rewards. We'll see how that goes, yeah? Alright, let's see. Let's read this one. Mounts of Tamriel, Volume 2, Wolves and Foxes by Fadus Falto. And the reason why you find these new books around is they're explaining the new mounts that got added into, that you can buy with gold. It's really cool. Perspective of the city dweller holds that the dog is a loyal pet, a faithful companion sitting by the fire. Their wild relatives, meanwhile, are chicken-eating nuisances, perhaps even bloodthirsty beasts if the winter gets long and cruel. But in the resilient folk who live beyond city walls and travel long distances through the rugged frontier of the north, the largest dogs, wolves, and foxes make for boon companions and sturdy mounts. Is there any wonder? These beasts make for sources of warmth in even the cruelest blizzard, fiercely loyal protectors and impressive hunters when food is scarce. I once met a mountain breeder from Bleak Rock Isle who proudly showed me his beautiful hounds, carefully tended over generations till they reached the size of a wood elf. I had the pleasure of riding one across the icy beaches of their home isle, and it was a moving, if freezing, experience. Aren't more than a softcore game. Yeah, I mostly am, but I would like those rewards. So if you look at the Golden Pursuits, you get, I don't know if you can see it, but across the very top where that gold bar is, if you complete 3 of the Golden Pursuits, you get 10k gold. If you, there you go, let me do this. There it goes. 10k gold. If you complete 6 Golden Pursuits, you get 100 transmutation geodes. If you finish 8, you get 2 iron atriot crates. If you finish 10, you get 10,000 telvar, which is the currency in the Imperial City. And then if you finish 12 of them, you get 30k gold. So, I mean, I'm kind of, even if I just complete 3 and get 10k gold, that's nice. But I'd like to get up more, especially considering how little I've been playing lately. Okay, let's see. Where is the person in the pant? Where are your pants, sir? Stable master.
More than horses come through here, and I take care of them all.
Everybody's missing pants.
Of course, the steed's only as strong as its rider. How are you in the saddle?
Let's see. Alright, let's see what they have. Oh, they have a midnight. Oh, there it is. It's a fox. Let's preview. So this is what the mount you can buy here with gold. It's 50k gold. It's not bad, but I'm not much of a fox person. Alright, so I'm going to continue. I was doing a quest, I believe, and with this character, and we're just going to pick up the quest and continue going. Like, no big. What if they introduced a stock market system in the game to invest that gold? I don't know. I don't know if I'd get that invested in it, honestly. I tried doing, like, selling stuff, and I did really good, but my focus broke after, like, a month. I, like, hardcore was grinding for gold for, like, a month, and then I just, I got bored.
We weren't expecting visitors. Are you here to see the counselor? Are you here to speak with Counselor Sophis? I'm afraid my husband has taken our dog for a walk. Is there something I could help you with, perhaps?
I need to find the counselor. He may be in danger.
Danger? What are you talking about? Does this have something to do with that letter? And who are you, by the way?
Captain Ryan sent me to check on Counselor Sophus.
Captain Rianne?
Rianne, my
I
bad.
see. Well, if the Ivory Brigade sent you, my husband likes to walk our dog Chero along the tree line. Go on and find him. I'll wait here in case he returns.
You mentioned a letter?
My husband, Valen, received a letter from an old friend this morning. Lupus, Emperor Leovic's steward. I could see that whatever was in that letter upset him, but he didn't want to discuss it, and I didn't push him. Now please, go find him.
Okay. Yeah, I did really good job grinding for gold for that amount of time, but like people are really competitive and it gets really ugly. I don't have any interest in that level of grinding for gold. Hi, pepperoni. Churro, you like to leave my chicken alone. So, I mean, I might try again just because it is a good way to make money, but uh, I don't know. The grind for gold on this game can take a little bit. Uh-oh, dead person. Mysterious note. Dark Brotherhood.
What's taking you so long? They should... Valen! No! Oh, Valen! Oh, my love! What happened? I thought Captain Rihan sent you to protect my husband!
I was too late. He was already dead when I found him.
You know, Valen acted strange after the letter from Lupus arrived. He didn't tell me what it said, and I never asked. Before he left today, he gave me a sealed scroll, said to give it to Counselor Leviticus if anything ever happened to him.
A scroll?
A scroll, sealed and bearing my husband's stamp. Take it. Give it to Counselor Leviticus. I hope it helps catch whoever murdered my husband. I'll summon the town guard. They'll help me with my husband.
Yeah, I'd made like 1,000,000 gold in a week just by selling fragments for mementos that were in dungeons, public dungeons. It was nice. I was like making a nice chunk of gold. I think I bought one of my houses with it. But then everybody saw I was making gold, and so they started doing the same thing, but then severely undercutting the pricing. And so the money making for it just tanked because I went from making like 20,000 per piece of memento or fragment piece to making like 2K, 5K. They really just like they shot themselves in the foot, honestly. But yeah, it's not, I don't know. Whenever something has to do with actual money or with money, real or whatever, people just get weird. They get really weird. Mm-hmm. I've been reading this book. One of the things that I was doing my entire week off was reading this book called Like, Follow, Subscribe. And this journalist interviewed children and mothers, but mostly the children of uh, momfluencers.
Martina and I worked closely together here in our early experimental days. Fond memories.
And she's talking to them after they've grown up, and so she's able to get like a view of what happened, like how it affected their lives, to have their moms constantly recording and sharing personal information all the time. Well, you see how crazy the drive for money and attention makes these people who like love their children or loved their children and still think that they love their children, but the love of
Stay alert.
I haven't
money
undone
and
authority, but I'm in
influence has
danger.
made them do things
Of
that
course, Counselor.
severely harmed their children.
Step back and state your business. I have every reason to believe that my life is in danger. If you so much as make a threatening gesture, the Brigadine will dismember you. He has very strict orders on that regard.
I'm working with Captain Rianne Lior. I was sent to tell you that the threat is real.
I was beginning to suspect as much. Very well. Tell me everything that you have learned. Leave nothing out. I want to hear it all.
The Dark Brotherhood has already murdered Ferial Lupus and Counselor Jurek.
Lupus. Emperor Leovik's old steward? And Jirik as well? Gods, they are targeting the Elder Council. Anything else? Tell me. The slightest detail could mean the difference between life and death.
We think it has something to do with Leovik's secret, something called the Four Ambitions.
The ambitions? I heard that term once before, years ago. I must go to Tidewater Cave. I have a cache hidden there, and I need to check my records. Meanwhile, I suggest you find Jirik's files. She kept them in a hidden compartment in her nightstand.
Your records include information on Leovik's secret?
Possibly. I oversaw the Imperial Treasury, so my records deal with expenditures and collections. I have documents going as far back as Emperor Morikar, possibly even Durkarach, and I know I saw that term someplace. I will see what I can find.
How well did you know Counselor Jurek?
Extremely well. We were rivals as well as colleagues on the Elder Council. It was that way between all of the counselors, I suppose. Her death is a tragedy, however. I will miss her.
Yeah, it's well, like some of the stuff was like one of the girls was talking about how she was ended up being scared to sleep in her own house because her mom had posted a video of her brother asleep without him knowing. And he ended up getting teased at school without even being aware of like what he was being teased for. And it's just like, why would you do that?
If I waited here long enough, I'd find you.
Like, why would you do that? But it's just, because videos of their children draw in a lot more views. And then there was like this one woman, and I think she ended up separated from her husband. And she was being interviewed about like the husband's kind of just disappeared. But when she was being interviewed for this book, she was talking about her highest viewed videos are ones where her children are injured. And I'm like, that's creepy, dude. That's so creepy. What?
It's you. It's actually you. My friend said you were a story, a myth, but here you are. It is you, right? The hero of Tamriel? The slayer from the legends. It has to be. You look just like the paintings.
Can I help you?
Can you help me? A famed warrior is asking if I need help. This
I
is
like
what
his
I've
outfit.
always dreamed of.
I want that outfit.
Don't have any dangerous things going on right now, but I'm sure I could find myself some trouble to get into if you'd want.
I didn't say that.
No, it's all right.
No, it's not.
Listen, what would you rather fight? A pack of lions? Perhaps a vicious troll? I'm sure I could find one nearby. Oh, it should be more than one. Let's give the bards a good song. How does a dozen trolls sound?
That's not a good idea.
You're right. Trolls aren't enough for a legendary hero. We need something bigger, more menacing. Oh, I heard about these weird cultists. The Order of the Waking Flame. You can rescue me from the cultists. Oh, how exciting!
Please don't.
This is going to be great. Just wait until I tell all my friends back in Bravo.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, we'll go back about our business. But yeah, just the way that they treat putting their children on screen, and like it's not this red flag to them that their videos with their children are the ones that draw the most people. Like, oh, excuse me. But it's literally just the love of money and being viewed. There was one girl, I think she's a woman now, and she was talking about how her mom doesn't even make like It doesn't even make like $100. She's like got a whole bunch of followers on Facebook. And she doesn't even make $100 a month, but she still shows everything that her kids do. And it's just like, if you're not even making money for it, technically this is Blackwood, so it's still, Oblivion, the adoring admirer. Yeah, I've been reading this book, and it's just like we don't even fully know what's going to what's going to mentally happen to these kids when they grow up, like how it's going to affect them. And it's like, as bad as it is now, how much worse is it going to be? Let's see. The book is Breaking the Cycle of Tyranny by Ala Lilith. Lilith? The brash young kingdoms of the Covenant want to reestablish the Empire of Men. They are too callow and immature to realize that the Empire was a failed experiment whose time has passed. Now is a time of crisis for all of Nirn, and Tamriel cannot afford to have these unlearned barbarians destabilizing Cyrodiil and jeopardizing our efforts to stave off world-destroying doom. The Ebonheart Pact will not allow the Daggerfall Covenant to establish another bloody-handed dynasty of imperial tyrants. Time and again throughout history, armies of men have marched in from the rim of Tamriel to conquer its center, enjoying a brief moment of power before sliding into the inevitable discord and decay. It's time to break this destructive cycle once and for all. We need to defeat the armies of the Covenant, depose their kings, and bring their chastened successors into a new Tamriel pact, where wiser heads shall prevail. Oh, cool. Oh yeah, I got these. Sweet. I forgot I have these things. I don't want to excavate things that work. Alright, sweet. Oop, we got lots of books in this house. And the kids don't get money unless they sue their parents when they grow up. See, and that's crazy, okay? So there are states where these influencer families are leaving the state because the states are enacting laws forcing the parents to set aside a percentage of the money. If a child shows up in a video, the parent has to set aside a portion of the money in savings for that child for when they reach maturity. And they're going to states, these families are going to states that don't have those laws in place. And they're saying, oh, it's just more aligned with our values. Oh, it's just better climate. Bullshit. It's because you don't want to pay your kids. Oh my gosh, it's so infuriating. All right, let's see. Cheeses of Tamriel by Master Chef Gilbert Larocque. We're going to go with that way of saying it. If you like me, the very word cheese stirs you. Maybe you recall meals shared with family and friends, favorite dishes in the cold of winter, or a simple snack in the shade of a tree while traveling. I'm here to tell you how much more there is to cheese than you ever realized. Join me on a journey across Tamriel and discover a breadth of culinary experience you've never imagined. Let's start simple. Eider cheese, popular in Skyrim, is eaten by the Nords alongside hearty spit-roasted meats. They do not share the refined approach to cuisine that we Bretons take, but I have discovered that Eider's rich, earthy flavor and creamy texture are quite conducive to sauces. Try it with poultry dishes or paired with a young kokova? I think that's how you say that. For a more exotic taste from Skyrim, you must seek out cheese made from the milk of mammoths. Only the truly brave can obtain it from the giants who craft it. Yes, giants. Who'd you think could milk a mammoth? But its restorative potential and robust flavor make it well worth a bit of risk. I've heard it called an acquired taste, but you'll be amazed at how it completes a hearty stew. As a student of Breton culinary tradition, I cannot rightly count it among true cheeses, but Scuttle bears mention for the adventurous. This delicious treat is crafted from, don't bulk, the flesh of beetles native to Morrowind. Do not let its composition or greasy texture turn you away, for its peppery, complex richness is loved by the Dark Elves for a good reason. For an energizing snack, you must try Elsewhere fondue. There are countless variants of this dish, but the basics are always the same. A good cheese, strong stock, and of course, moon sugar. Keep your pot on a low flame and be careful not to overdo the ale. The best part is experimenting to find your favorite combination of ingredients in dipping foods. My advice, try adding a different herb every time. On the subject of melting, the Red Guards craft cheese with an unusual quirk. They keep the secrets of its culturing process close to heart, but love to surprise foreign guests by serving it. It is known as shrieking cheese. When it is melted to a certain point, it actually lets loose a jarring scream. In a common dish, small blocks of the cheese are added atop spicy meat as it cooks in an open pot. When it shrieks, it's ready. Another rare treat, should you ever be fortunate enough to find it, is the legendary aromatic Olroy cheese. To give you just the slightest idea of how wonderful this cheese is, I do not exaggerate when I say a scent of it alone was worth the many false leads and months of traipsing across southern Cyrodiil in search of it. Look at all these cheeses in wheels, wedges, and slices. So many, and it's only the beginning. There are even more cheeses out there just waiting for you. Even if you can't make long journeys in search of these delicious creations, I hope that reading about them encourages you to try as many cheeses as you can find. I do like cheese. The Feast of Saint Culicia the First. This is a new book to me. Ooh, I like new books. By Arfons Jocondante, expert of Nibonese cuisine. Cuisine? Okay. Prelude. I must first bid you welcome, dear reader. Whether it was idle curiosity or a burning thirst for culinary prose that guided you to these pages, I do not know. But as you are here all the same, I am eager to include these words of context and background to what is surely one of the most famous mid-Second Era culinary texts of the southeastern Niben watershed. For certainly, the Feast of St. Colicia numbers amongst the top 25 most famous culinary texts of this particular era in this particular region, perhaps even the top 14. For readers hailing from beyond the Empire's heartland, or who do not keep the light of the divines as their faith, I shall endeavor to orient you. The volumes to follow detail an extravagant feast held during the reign of Emperor Brasulus Dor, successor of Remen II. Known to many scholars of the age as a libertine who abdicated much of his empire's administration to his potentate, freed from his burden of duty, Emperor Brasulus would do much to advance the arts of feast-making, idleness, and debauchery to a level unrivaled until the reign of the Longhouse emperors. It is Emperor Brasulus' feast held in honor of Saint Coecia, a minor martyr of the Alessian slave rebellions that this book documents. Saint Coecia is typically honored in the closing days of last seen with a fast, even her death by torturous starvation. What? You have a feast when she died by starvation? To rekindle adoration of his subjects, Emperor Brasulus instead sought to turn the fasting day into a feasting day. He chose to lead by example, and a legion of chefs, courtiers, and bon vivants descended upon his autumnal estate in Leowin for the feast. What followed was a 12-hour marathon of 40 dishes arranged in 8 courses of 5 dishes each. I shall endeavor to present the details of each dish in each course annotated as necessary for the edification of the reader. Holy smokes. I like a lot of cheeses, honestly. I think hard cheese are the only ones that I'll be like, I have a hard time actually like eating. Because hard cheese tend to have like a more, a much stronger flavor, but I love Munster. Munster is a soft cheese and it's delicious. And is it Havarti? Munster and Havarti are some of my favorites. Let's see. Transnibian delicacies. All these books have been about food. Was this person a foodie? The person that died from this house, I mean. By first mate Snagath of the Gwar's Beak, second fastest treasure hauler on the Niben River. Any person who wonders at a member of my less than legitimate profession writing a book of recipes should board a ship and sail into the open ocean. The moment they encounter their first day of doldrums, all such questions shall be answered. I guess, yeah, I mean, you get bored and you pick up a hobby. Given my current windless predicament, I have taken it upon myself to record every good meal I have eaten since the beginning of my long career in piracy. I shall start with one of my favorites. When I was but a young man, early in my travels, and with my boots still stiff and dry, I procured this recipe from an Argonian fisherfolk in a backwater inlet on the south side of the river. Fisherfolk thought to secure some small amount of funds from me in the form of a game of cards, while I sought to finance my dinner in the same manner. We played well into the night until the fisherfolk had nothing left to give but the recipe, which has been a secret of his tribe until that very moment. Crayfish salad. Search the tide pools for a shelled creature called a crayfish, which looks nothing like a fish and only moderately like a lobster. Boil the crayfish for a short time in seasoned water, during which time gather and remove your greens, or prepare your greens. Remove the crayfish from their shells and cut off its head. When the meat is sufficiently cooled, add it to the greens and top with your choice of fruits, vegetables, seeds, or meat. I followed my host's recommendation and added some citrus to my salad. It did something wonderful to the greens since they were usually detestable at best. Oh, that's not too bad. Let's see.
Oh, hey! Over here!
Okay, yeah, give me 1 second. I just need to raid a few people's cabinets and then we'll chitter chatter, ma'am. Hi.
I'm glad you're
Lovely.
here. I've been searching all over, but I could use your help. This place is huge. Why do rich people need so many rooms? Oh, but tell me, did you warn the counselors like I asked?
Valeria has protection and is going to search her records, but I was too late to save Sophus.
Sophus is dead? Damn! Was it the Dark Brotherhood? What am I saying? Of course it was. I've torn this place apart, but so far I haven't found anything related to Imperial secrets or the ambitions. Maybe you can spot something I missed.
Counselor Valeria told me Jarrett kept records in a hidden compartment in her nightstand.
I knew you'd be a help, but I didn't expect you to just have the answer the moment you walked in. Good job! Counselor Jarrett's bedroom is upstairs. Let's see if we can find that hidden compartment.
And more books. Let's see. My little chicks. Look, he's got a little hat. He's got a pot for a hat. Alright. Ooh, look at that. 3 bookshelves right there. Heck yeah. We have Enigma of the Runestones by Tellinger the Artificer. Excuse me. The origin of the mystic runestones found scattered across Tamriel is obscure and uncertain. Even their nature and material composition is a matter of hot debate among the sages of the Crystal Tower. The venerable Ansric Sapiarch of mythohistory holds that certain difficult passages in Tornin's journal indicate that runestones were already here when the Foresailor arrived from Old Aldmiris. However, Nolan, the many-hued Sapiarch of Enchantment, contends that they date from the early Merithic era, and are the unintended consequence of an Ayleid wizard's experiment gone awry. Whatever the truth of their origin, after generations of study by the finest magical minds in the Somerset Isles, their various properties have nearly all been identified, and their uses in the enchantment of arms, armor, and ornaments are well understood. For general classification, they fall into 3 categories, which we latter-day mages have dubbed potency, aspect, and essence. For enchantment purposes, these 3 types of runestones can be understood as mystically complementary, for only by combining one of each category can the enchanter create a glyph, our term for the magical substance we use to endow an item with sorcerous power. However, though we know how to use runestones to create magical items, the enigma remains. What are they? We have named their 3 standard categories, potency, aspect, and essence. But what does that mean? Even the great Frizz the Antic, who gave them these names, even he, when asked what they meant, merely shrugged and replied, "Those are the names that feel right to me." Even the fact that there are 3 kinds of runestones generates debate, as it seems to contradict the Anu-Padu theorem, which posits that duality is the foundation of the rubus. Camonwe of Lilandril asserted that it was impossible that there were only 3 types of runestones and spent the last 200 years of his life searching for a 4th, convinced that proper classification called for such entities to appear in dual pairs. He never found his Quertonic runestone, which he dubbed Celerity, but he insisted until the end that his theory was sound. Was Camonwe right? Do Celerity runestones exist, but in some state of reality that makes them imperceptible to the normal mortals? That is a question that is so far unanswerable. Those are some big words. I don't know what they mean. Well, I know what some of them mean. I think so. I'm pretty sure they do. I don't know. I've never, like, when I watch streams, I don't usually push the emojis, so I can't tell you. You just have to press the button and find out and see if it says, do you want... Yeah, there's hearts. Thank you for the hearts. Sacred Witness Part 1 by Enric Milris. I have met countesses and courtesans, empresses and witches, ladies of war and slatterns of peace, but I have never met a woman like the Night Mother, and I never will again. I am a writer, a poet of some small renown. If I told you my name, you may have heard of me, but very likely not. For decades, until very recently, I had adopted the city of Sentinel on the coast of Hammerfell as my home, and kept the company of other artists, painters, tapestrists, and writers. No one I knew would have known an assassin by sight, least of all the queen of them, the Bloodflower, the Lady Death, the Night Mother. Not that I had not heard of her. Some years ago, I had the good fortune of meeting Pelern Assi, a respected scholar who had come to Hammerfell to do research for a book about the Order of Dagny. His essay, The Brothers of Darkness, together with Ynir Gorming's Fire and Darkness, The Brotherhoods of Death, are considered to be the canon tomes on the subject of Tamriel's Order of Assassins. By luck, Gorming himself was also in Sentinel, and I was privileged to sit with the two in a dark skooma den in the musty slums of the city as we smoked and talked about the Dark Brotherhood, the Morag Tong, and the Night Mother. While not disputing the possibility that the Night Mother may be immortal, or at least very long-lived, Ossie thought most likely that several women, and perhaps some men, throughout the ages had assumed the honorary title. It was no more logical to say there were only one Night Mother, he asserted, than to say there was only one King of Sentinel. Gorming argued that there never was a Night Mother, at least no human one. The Night Mother was Mephala, herself, whom the Brotherhood revered second only to Sithis. I don't suppose there's any way of knowing for certain, I said, in a note of diplomacy. Certainly there is, whispered Gorming with a grin. You could talk to that cloaked fellow in the corner. I had not noticed the man before, who sat by himself, eyes hidden by his cloak, seemingly as much a part of the dingy place as the rough stone and unswept floor. Turning back to Mjolnir, I asked why that man would know about the Night Mother. He's a dark brother, hissed Pelern Assi. That's as plain as the moons. Don't even joke about speaking with him about her. We moved on to other arguments about the Morag Tong and the Brotherhood, but I never forgot the image of the lone man looking at nothing and everything in the corner of the dirty room, with fumes of smoke floating around him like ghosts. When I saw him weeks later on the streets of Sentinel, I followed him. Yes, I followed him. The reader may reasonably ask why and how. I don't blame you for that. How was simply a question of knowing my city as well as I do. I'm not a thief, not particularly sure-footed and quiet, but I know the alleys and streets of Sentinel intimately from decades' worth of ambling. I know which bridges creak, which buildings cast long, irregular shadows, the intervals at which the native birds begin the ululations of their evening songs. With relative ease, I kept pace with the Dark Brother, and out of his sight and hearing. The answer to why is even simpler. I have the natural curiosity of the born writer. When I see a strange new animal, I must observe. It is the writer's curse. I trailed the cloaked man deeper into the city, down an alleyway so narrow it was scarcely a crack between two tenements, past a crooked fence, and suddenly, miraculously, I was in a place I had never seen before. A little courtyard cemetery, with a dozen old half-rotted wooden tombstones. None of the surrounding buildings had windows that faced it, so no one knew this miniature necropolis existed. No one, except the 6 men and 1 woman standing in it. And me. The woman saw me immediately and gestured for me to come closer. I could have run, but no, I couldn't have. I had pierced a mystery right in my adopted sentinel, and I could not leave it. She knew my name, and she said it with a sweet smile. The Night Mother was a little old lady with fluffy white hair, cheeks like wrinkled apples that still carried a flush of youth, friendly eyes, blue as the Illic Bay. She softly took my arm as we sat down amidst the graves and discussed murder. She was not always in Hammerfell, not always available for direct assignment, but it seemed she enjoyed actually talking to her clientele. I do not come here to hire the Brotherhood, I said respectfully. Then why are you here? The Night Mother asked, her eyes never leaving mine. I told her I wanted to know about her. I did not expect an answer to that, but she told me. Next bookshelf. What's this one? Oh, it's empty. Well, that is a sin, to empty a bookshelf. Let's see. Ooh, I'm full. For Pete's sake. Ooh, I got all these things. I better pull out my little automaton. Automaton, bank automaton, where are you? Miss Commerce. Hello, automaton. Deposit. Aw, man, my bank's almost full. Do I have... Okay, let's deposit. Mm-mm. Do I have more? I have. Oh, I need to dump that stuff inside my house thing. Okay. I need to get a deconstructor at some point. I just always forget.
Warning.
Okay. Now I can get this. Hey, Nordens.
Cohort.
I'm good. How you been? Okay, so we got bookshelf, bookshelf. That's the only bookshelf? Let me see. Bookshelf, bookshelf. Yeah, those are only 2 bookshelves. So we'll read these books and then we'll continue about the quest. What you been up to this week? Let's see. Strakes and Fudoks by Curling Leyland Master Shipwright. This is important, so pay attention. You already think you know how to build an Alkir Carvel, but the new king over in Sentinel has ordered the shipyards to build all vessels to consistent standards. He thinks that'll make them easier to supply since all the pieces are standardized, and also that will build them faster once we're into a routine. Maybe he's right, I don't know, but I do know that he's the king and we're spending his gold, so we're going to do it his way. There's no change to how we lay the keel. We still scarf together sections of lumber with the longest piece in the middle, with the ends using planks cut from angled trunks so the curve is built right into the wood. But here's the new thing. The keel, stem, and stern posts are all rebbeted to secure the strakes and keep them parallel. And the posts aren't self-timber. They're made of inner and outer pieces to reinforce the curve. We still install the central rib first, then the fore and afters, but now we're going to lay battens across the upper, middle, and lower sections to guide the installation of the remaining ribs. Got that? No. Then we lay on the strakes as usual, starting with the futtocks and finish with the inner hull. Get that all done, and we'll talk about how we're going to approach the rigging and outfitting. I don't know what I just read. Been better, but I have an appointment with my... Oh, nice. Well, I hope it goes well for you. Bookshelf. On Marsh Giants, a study. I did not know there were marsh giants. By Fenmill, Associate Dean of Plant Studies, University of Gwilym. Many of my colleagues have devoted their careers to the study of woodland spriggans. While their discoveries provide a firm foundation for understanding arboreal spirits, scholarship on the spriggans' prodigious cousins, the marsh giants, remains sparse. They're cousins of the spriggans? Okay. Encroachment into their natural habitat by Cyrodiilic refugees has unfortunately resulted in numerous deaths in recent months. For that reason alone, we must make a concerted effort to learn more about these mysterious woodland titans. First, it bears repeating that marsh giants are not, in fact, giants in the traditional sense. Okay. Other than their size and pastoral disposition, marsh giants share no common traits with the giants of Skyrim. They are in fact woodland spirits, the manifestations of some primeval guardian of nature. I leave the precise nature of that being or force to our professors of theology, but it is important to note that marsh giants seem to share the spriggans' interest in safeguarding wild spaces. The intellectual facilities of marsh giants remain the topic of debate. Most scholars admit that spriggans possess some rudimentary intelligence, but our limited exposure to marsh giants makes judging their cognitive ability difficult indeed. At this point, most of our knowledge comes from Argonian folklore and tradition. According to the scholars of Gideon, most primitive Argonians give the creatures a wide berth. Apparently, the Hist have a long and acrimonious history with the woodland gargantuans, and they urge the Argonians, through their intermediaries, to avoid the creatures if they can. Conversely, I found that many Lukil or civilized Argonians actually respect the marsh giants. The creatures' wide, gnarled feet seem to till the earth quite well. Their passage often knocks down dry branches, fruit, and other useful goods that the Lukil eagerly scoop up. What I find most interesting is the marsh giant's role in the natural processes and rhythms of Blackwood. My investigations indicate that these creatures fill an essential patch in nature's quilt. Beyond simply tilling the soil, marsh giants fell dead trees to make room for younger vegetation, encouraging the growth of vital mosses, depress the development of invasive fungus, and encourage avian diversity by warding off feral cats and other predators. And perhaps most importantly, they hinder loggers, miners, and other tradesfolk from harming the pristine marsh landscape. I earnestly believe that we can find a way to coexist with the arboreal titans, but it will take patience and flexibility on the part of both workers and regional leaders. I pray that we do not fight these creatures needlessly. The marshes and forests depend on their presence. Are they talking about those giant... They might be talking about those giant things. Hi. Counselor Jurek, it is time to rally the caretakers and move the ambitions. The new vault locations should ensure their safety and keep them hidden until I or the High Priest call for them. The forces loyal to the traitor of Erin draw ever closer, and we cannot allow the ambitions to fall into their hands. This is your official order. Act immediately. This line is written in a complex imperial code. Emperor Leovic. Excuse me.
A hidden compartment? I love it! I mean, I hate that people have died, but... So, what did you find?
It's an order from Emperor Leovic. He told Jurek to move the ambitions, but the last line is code.
Let me see that. That's a code, all right. Some of the other documents I found use something similar. You know, I'm really starting to hate all this secrecy surrounding the ambitions.
Leowin is an imperial city. Maybe someone here can decipher it.
Good idea. We need to report in to Counselor Leviticus anyway. Let him know what we uncovered. If he has a qualified scribe, great. If not, I know someone. They helped me with those other documents. Let's go to Leowin Castle and talk to Leviticus.
I'll meet you at Leowin Castle.
I can't help feeling that once we solve the secret of the Longhouse Emperors, we'll know how to stop the Dark Brotherhood from murdering any more of the counselors. I'll see you at the castle.
Alrighty. Let's see, we're going to... Oh yeah, the castle's probably going to have tons of bookshelves too. We're going to be busy, busy, busy. Well, I will. But still, these can... So on my PlayStation account, Baka, out. Baka, out. I don't need you farting in here, bud. On my PlayStation account, I just finished buying a house in Vardenfell. It looks like it'll be perfect to build like a little garden in. I'm so excited. I was spending a lot of time this past week in PvP because they have, I don't know if y'all noticed, but they have the veterancy system in PvP now. And I wanted to see if I could get high enough to get one of those permanent titles. I got to level 40 something. I don't remember what it was specifically. But then I started playing Pal World with my husband. So I haven't been on all weekend. I've been playing Pal World. Nope. Well, can I? I don't care about that stuff. I just want that.
I need your report, mercenary. Word reached me that Counselor Jurek was murdered. What about Sophus and Valeria? And did you find definitive proof that the Dark Brotherhood is our culprit?
Counselor Sophus has been murdered too, but Valeria is safe. These notes were by each of the bodies.
That's the Black Hand, symbol of the Dark Brotherhood. I wish Jurek and Sophus had allowed me to assign brigadines to protect them. At least Valeria, however reluctantly, agreed to a military escort. Did you and Everly uncover any other information?
We gathered a few documents we think Counselor Leviticus should see.
It appears that Counselor Leviticus's trust in the Wood Elf was not misplaced. Very well. You and Everly can head in and talk to the Counselor.
No, not before I read these books. Let's see what we got here in the castle. Hymn to Kine. In darkness your light shines through. Warrior goddess, for you we strike true. When hope is lost and war rages on, warrior goddess, hear our blessed song. With a Nord's death fallen in battle, warrior goddess, guide us through shadow. Grant us courage to fight and sharpen our swords, warrior goddess, mother of Nords. Not bad. An interview with Countess Caro, conducted by Mercurio Catreso, on behalf of the citizens of Leowin after the collapse of the Empire and the disbanding of the Imperial Elder Council. Good lord, that is a long subtitle. MC, why did you decide to cede your authority to the Chamber of Legates? CC, I have yielded nothing to anyone. I am still the Countess of Leowin City and the surrounding province. That is my birthright and my sacred duty. What I have done is appoint the Chamber of Legates to handle the day-to-day affairs of the city while I turn my attention to loftier matters. MC, what sort of loftier matters are you dealing with, Countess? CC, oh, the loftiest, I assure you, but let us talk about other things. Such delicate concerns are not meant for public consumption. MC, very well. How did you go about selecting the members to serve in the Chamber of Legates? CC, well, after much research and deliberation, I settled on a triumvirate of legates to facilitate decision-making and to make sure no legislation could be delayed due to a lack of clear majority. The math works in our favor, even if they cannot all come to the same conclusion. There will always be at least 2 legates who can agree, majority rules and all that. As for who should serve, well, the first members were obvious. I wanted to make sure that all 3 predominant groups with interests in the region were represented, and both Tibez Ko and Halu have served their communities since the time of the Longhouse Emperors. With a Khajiit and an Argonian, it stood to reason that I also needed to find an Imperial. Luckily, Councillor Leviticus was between jobs after the Elder Council disbanded. MC, I've heard rumors that you and the legates sometimes find yourselves at odds over certain decisions they have made. CC, where did you hear that? Is there someone whose head I need to have lobbed off? Joking. No, I leave the Chamber of Legates to do their jobs, and they leave me to contemplate those loftier matters I mentioned earlier. I sometimes wish they didn't take up so much room in the castle, but beyond that I appreciate and support the work of the legates, even Councillor Leviticus, who I had issue with during his tenure on the Elder Councillor. MC, so it's safe to say there's bad blood between you and Councillor Leviticus? CC, wherever did you get that idea? Governmental officials have disagreements all the time. It goes with the territory, but we both have the interests of Leowin and Blackwood at heart, even if we have different approaches to achieving those ends. Excuse me, that's what makes life at the court so interesting. MC, speaking of court, I hear you refused to see High Chancellor Abner Tharn when he visited the city last month. Is that true? CC, Abner Tharn is a conceited old bastard, and I am more than convinced that he played some role in the unfortunate collapse of our beloved empire and the start of this damn war. He can go in the oblivion for all I care. And you are correct, he isn't welcome within the confines of Leowin Castle. MC, the Three Banners War, do you consider Leowin to be safe from that ongoing conflict? CC, as safe as we can be considering our proximity to the Imperial City, but Captain Rayan and the Ivory Brigade has thus far been able to keep the worst of the fighting from reaching our province. I expect the Brigadines to maintain the sanctity of our borders until a resolution has been reached. MC, thank you for your time, Countess Caro. CC, oh, think nothing of it. I do so enjoy taking a few moments to share my thoughts with the little people, provides a break from those loftier matters I must deal with, quite refreshing in small doses. Holy smokes. Oh, there's one more bookshelf. Shy! Hello, Shy. No, no what? No, yes, no? Sorry, I have a yawn. Okay, let's see. Glenbridge's Argonian Shrine to Sithis, a record by Gilzar of House Wayfarers and Rimmon. I gotta itch my ear. Oh, sorry. By first impressions, there is nothing that stands out about the Shrine to Sithis that resides next to the main road through Glenbridge. This isn't to say that the shrine is not noteworthy, only that first impressions are often misleading. The building is tall, towering at a height that rivals most of the trees nearby, and the height is only exaggerated by the lack of structures that appear around the shrine. The walls are made of thick stone slabs, and faces peer out of the stonework at every corner of the structure, but still, in comparison to the Zanmir towering in the near distance, the shrine is not impressive. Inside the shrine, the walls press in closely, invading the space which is only large enough to host 4 bodies. Even with 3 walls left open to the outside world, it is hard to breathe within the shrine itself. Standing in the center of the space feels as though there is no air at all. There are places where the stones have fallen or been knocked to the side. This continues on the inside of the shrine as well, and with a distinct lack of light gives the shrine a dilapidated look unfitting of most places of worship. The priests did not seem concerned when asked about the shrine's appearance, though they did seem offended at the suggestion that the fallen stone slab should be set to rights. After some conversation and careful questioning, it became clear that the priests viewed the shrine's state as being a marker of Sithis' work. Fixing the walls of the shrine would be an act of sacrilege. Huh. While it may not be clear if Sithis had any direct impact on the shrine's appearance, if the stones were knocked loose due to his power, or if weather and time are to blame, it certainly has an impact on the priests who care for it. Little people can be taken out of context really easily. I don't know. You have to explain to me because my brain did not go that way.
I'm off duty. Bother someone else.
Ooh, book. The way of the Bendari. Do not slander another child of the Bendari. Remain mindful in all dealings. A gift must be returned in kind. A fair trade need not be fair only in gold. Truth and cleverness need not be enemies. Find what is lost, trade what is found, and leave what has no purpose. I know it came from the book I read, but I don't understand how it could be taken out of context. Sighs of Blackwood. As lamps go out in Gideon and the rafts drift through the mire, you can hear the songs of spear toads right out like a sap-blessed choir. O Blackwood, Vestai, Vestai, Blackwood, Rothiva, Rothiva, sigh your tales, make moist our scales. When I swim your murky waters, and I taste the wasu fruit, I count my blessings like a torchbug flares, that here's my hist took root. O Blackwood, Vestai, Vestai, Blackwood, Rothiva, Rothiva, sigh your tales, make moist our scales. The smell of peat fills my nose, and the mud dries on my back. I feel the swell of 100 harvests sleeping in your soil so black. O Blackwood, Vestai, Vestai, Blackwood, Rothiva, Rothiva, sigh your tales, make moist our scales, Rothiva, Rothiva, sigh your tales, make moist our scales. I have no idea what that's about. There's a lot of books in here. Tribes of Blackwood, Gideon, and the Border by Emmanuel Beth Perrant, The Wayfarers Society of Wayrest. After my long and perilous excursion to Murkmire, I thought it best to return home to High Rock for some well-deserved rest, but it seems the Eight had other plans. Sales of my first book, The Tribes of Murkmire, far exceeded expectations, a happy dilemma for any researcher. So, to fulfill the newfound demand, I bid my caravan farewell on the Trans-Nibbin and set out east toward Gideon. For those readers who have never been there, Gideon is a paradoxical mixture of countless cultures, a confusing mishmash of Aeoliad architecture, imperial history, Kothringi folklore, and Argonian tradition. Despite its rich cosmopolitan history, present-day Gideon is peopled mostly by Argonians. Unlike their cousins to the south, whom I grew to cherish like family, the Argonians of Blackwood both bear the scars and reap the benefits of long exposure to Cyrodiil. They speak Cyrodiilic with greater precision, conduct business with more and navigate foreign traditions with greater success. This often comes at the cost of ancient traditions and purer strains of Argonian philosophy. The first time I heard an Argonian openly dismiss the primacy of the Hist, I was astonished, but over time I've come to understand that the tribes of Blackwood are no less complex. In many ways, they are far more complicated. Argonians on the border with Greater Tamriel absorb the lion's share of foreign depredations. Wars, famines, enslavement, environmental exploitation, and so on, border Argonians have borne it all. As a result, nearly all the friendships I struck with local Sixhiel were hard-earned. Most Murkmire Argonians regard foreigners with a bemused, almost comic disinterest. Blackwood Argonians, however, view most outsiders with a skepticism that borders on the cynical. A local leader named Kishu has made great strides towards integrating her people into a wider Tamrielic society. I pray that the endeavor leads to greater cooperation, not greater distrust. Oh, okay. The other was a love poem. Okay. You know, I really need to continue decorating my house that I have, the nice big one that I was so into getting. Actually, I need to, 1 second. Gold Coast Bazaar. Oh, I don't have that many trade bars. I need to get more trade bars. Because there's those glowing statues, the really big ones of like Molag Bal, and then the Breton, the High Elf, and the Nord. I think I need one more statue. I have to go back to the house and double check. Yeah, the Guildhall. I need to go and finish decorating. I bought. They had a transmute station on sale this last week, and so I bought one and put it in the Guildhall. Oh man, I'm sorry, but I still need to do other things, more prettyful thing. I'm gonna drink a little bit real quick. Kishu, the Black Fin Goes to War, Part 1, by Peak Arel, friend and confidant to Kishu the Black Fin. In the season following Kishu the Black Fin's return from the ruins of the Old Ones, as she referred to the so-called advanced Sexhiel who lived in the distant past, we were extremely busy breathing life into Kishu's hopes and desires. In addition to learning some small amount about the way the Old Ones lived, Kishu's time of contemplation among the ruins saw the development of new ways of thinking for our leader and lifelong friend. She came back to us with a dream. Ooh, we're gonna play Xbox. Nice. Some will tell you that from the moment she returned from the ruins, Kishu wanted to bring about the resurrection of the advanced Sexhild society. Now, while she was definitely interested in learning more about that ancient time, her initial dream was much simpler. She wanted to defend Sexhill from the threat of outsiders. When Sion was captured by the Dark Elf slavers, I think it affected Kishu with a profound level. And when she freed Sion from the other Sexhill captives, I think her destiny was set in motion. Keshu decided to create an army. She called for volunteers from across the greater marsh, and a surprising number answered that call. The village elders, tree minders, and sap speakers were of mixed minds about her actions, but in the end they decided to sit back and let the Hist sort it out. As with all things in Sexhill life, if Kashu succeeded, then her plans were meant to come to fruition, and if she failed, then she would disappear into the swamp and never be heard from again. That was the way things happened in Blackmarsh, but whatever Kashu's ultimate fate, in the beginning she was unstoppable. The initial band, informally known as the Black Finn's Legion, was more than 24 strong. Kashu and Boss Haruk at first served as instructors and trainers for the small gathering of warriors, but soon other notable fighters had rallied to her banner, including the battle mage known as Fire from Nowhere, and the Sexhill freedom fighter called Elfslayer. They provided expertise and helped with the training to reduce the burden on our beloved leader. When Kashu determined that we were at last ready to be tested, she decided on a target and pointed to her newly honed weapon at it. We were going to attack a House Drez slave caravan and set the captives free. We planned and trained for weeks, preparing for every contingency Kashu and her most trusted advisors could think of. We scouted the House Drez enclave. We reconnoitered the most probable paths from Stormhold toward Morrowind. We watched, we waited, and then we made our move. The House-Dress slave caravan departed from Stormhold on a rainy morning with little fanfare. A line of Sexhill slaves, consisting of more than 50 of our egg brothers and egg sisters, were chained together and forced to march between two massive wagons, each pulled by a team of Puar. House-dress guards rode atop the wagons, marched on each side of the line of slaves, and ranged around the caravan atop horses and other riding beasts. In all, there were about 30 Dark Elf warriors guarding the caravan. For this exercise, Kashu led a force of 26 Blackfin legionnaires to liberate the slaves. Our warriors were nervous. For the majority of them, this would be their first real battle, and though they were well trained and committed to Kashu's cause, they still suffered from the usual fears associated with entering a life-or-death situation. Kashu and her officers remained visible, displaying confidence and determination that went a long way toward calming our troops. We set up to ambush the caravan as it made its way through a narrow passage, a few hundred strides from the border of Morrowind. Kashu gave the signal as she rushed forward to meet the enemy. We followed, spilling from our hiding places like wood ants emerging from a rotten log. If we were still nervous, it didn't show as we fell upon the Dark Elves. Kashu's strategy worked perfectly. When the battle was over, the Dark Elf guards were either dead or had surrendered, and though we had suffered a few minor wounds, none of the Blackfin Legion had fallen. The mission went off flawlessly, and Kashu's reputation grew with every Sexhill captive we set free. That's cool. I like that. Okay. Notes on Elven Architecture by Gestinus Florus, Mason's Guild historian. Soaring and graceful or static and repetitive, high elf architecture divides imperial critics much like a painted cow at a Reachman feast. Their curved gables and strong pointed steeples emphasize height, while with ceilings a giant would have trouble scraping his head on, and rooftops stretching proudly up towards the firmament. Their structures provide a visual echo in the high elves' appearance, as they try to contest their structures with the abodes of other races. Sorry, I got the hiccups. The more perceptive of historians, such as Cantabar Congonius of Skingrad, have discerned clear similarities when comparing settlements of the Altmiri and Aeliad, unmistakably because they share the same ancestors. Where the Aeliads departed Somerset Isle, the Altmer remained, yet their structures share many common elements. One only need walk the ruins near Bravel, then compared paintings of Skywatch for corroboration. Subtle changes are less obvious. While the Altmer are snobbish, they never sank to Aeliad levels of perniciousness, and the more refined buildings of Auradon reflect this. Such structural designs stem from ancient roots, using methods tried and tested, but not to the point of becoming obsolete. The Altmer seek refinement rather than innovation, and they are conceitedly resistant to large-scale changes, but are content to tinker. The results reveal highly sophisticated precision, harmony, and the selection and repetition of orthodox compositions. You remember this firmament? Did I read you? Oh, this is... No, I did not. And I don't know what this is about. It looks... Ithgalor. We all remember Anine Prawl. Went out to sea one day. Ithgalor bit off her head beneath the sea of grey. And what about Theresa's son, a brave and handsome boy? Ithgalor had ate him up, his mother's pride and joy. Oh, how we mourn our goodman Thom, who swore he'd catch the beast. Ithgalor ate him whole, and then he ate the priest, Yeah. It is mine.
Ah, spiffing! More coin for your purse.
He didn't even care where the coin came from. That's nice. No. You're not the popos. You can't make me stop stealing. Or murdering. Countess Caro's Birthday by Primus Falto, Countess Caro's Majordomo. Countess Caro's birthday is not just an event, it is an instant. Huh? While the Countess herself has more or less removed herself from the day-to-day running of Leowyn, I assure you that it is not out of any sense of modesty. Her birthday is proof of this. Decadence is never squandered when it comes to the reigning family of Leowyn, and the Countess has never been an exception. Food is always the most important part of any celebration. The foundation of every good party starts with what the guests' bellies will be full of. For Countess Caro's birthday, we ensure that only the finest decorates our tables. Golden platters teetered with roasted chicken, plump and golden with dripping butter and honey, red slices of beef, cuts of fish that melt on the tongue, suckling pig, charred mushrooms, the scents mingle together until it's practically seductive. Crocks of roast vegetables, thick soups that you can't help but eat with hunks of dark, pillowy bread, and wobbling bowls of pudding. I love pudding. The sweets are another matter entirely. Layer cakes tower over the guest's head in every shade imaginable. Sugared pastries lay against one another, the sheen of glaze on them as glossy as a mirror. Candied yams, dark berry preserves, pies bubbling with sweet sap, and golden, buttery crusts, each more beautiful than the last. I could write the feast forever. But I simply must move on. The food is only a small part of the decadence of this grand event. The decorations are my personal pride and something I have poured every ounce of myself into. Words I use for inspiration include outrageous, grandiose, exorbitant, and totally dazzling. Gold is the star of the celebration. Golden dishes, gold thread table runners, shimmering gold curtains. Even the lighting is perfectly crafted with the lighting of hundreds of candles hidden in alcoves and along the tables. Bouquets of flowers are dusted with warm light. Their perfume is rich and buttery as the color of gold itself. Last, but certainly not least, proper attire is required to attend this event. The guests are just as important to an event as the other accoutrements. Those who are lucky enough to be invited spend months preparing their wardrobe. Decadent silks, jeweled-studded vests, shoes with pearls, circlets, rings on every finger. No one walks in without looking their absolute best. Some guests even plan to change outfits halfway through the celebration. The cost of all this, one might ask. A good party planner never reveals such secrets. Good luck. So, uh, another reminder. I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm going to say it now and I'm going to say it at the end too. So we're changing up our community nights. It's only going to be Fridays from now on. And right now we're playing 7 Days to Die, which is going great. Like, love it. It's great. But just so y'all know, and if you aren't already in the Discord, if you scroll below the video and you click the More button, it should pop up a little mini button that takes you to the Discord. So, Threat of the Bendari Peddlers by Zuldar, High Priest of Satakalam. This week, O faithful ones, my sermon is not a homily or a parable, but a warning to all true Redguards to beware the wiles of the devilish cat people, those thieves and heretics who infest the fields outside our gates and call themselves Bendari Peddlers. Long have we known that these itinerant beast people use the mask of merchants to hide their true trades of theft, fraud, and chicanery? Why, then, do the magistrates continue to allow them to set up camp before the gates of our towns? Why are they not driven from our lands and never allowed to return? Clearly other powers are at work here, infidel powers of sacrilege and evil. How else to explain the folly of those who patronize these creatures, and the blindness of those in authority who tolerate their open pandering and vice? But how do you know this, O Zoladar? You may ask, how has this truth been revealed unto you? And I ask you, what do we say when someone sneezes? We say, Tuwaka bless you, do we not? And why do we say this? Because, as the ancient writings tells us, a sneeze is a sign of the presence of an evil spirit. And what happens to many of the faithful, myself very much included, when in the presence of one of these cat people, we sneeze. We sneeze our very eyes water, and we sneeze again. So Redguards tend to be allergic to cats. That's great. Heed, I say, hearken to the warning of Tawaka. These Bendari are evil, spirits incarnate. Abjure their company, avoid their camps, suffer not their tainted wares to be brought into your abode. It's all good. I already talked to Jax. Tribes of Blackwater, Gideon, and the Border. Oh, I think this is just a repeat of that one we read downstairs. Chiwaka, Arche, Xerxes by Lady Cinnabar of Tenneth. Oh, this is gonna be fun. I love this one. Lady Cinnabar always has her and what's that person that she's always like they fight back and forth in their books. That's great. I love it. It's not uncommon for scholars to note the clear similarities between the gods Xerxes, Arche, and Tuwaka. For a particularly uninspired summary of the obvious, see Psychopomps of Tamriel by the old Blovitar Frastus of Elenhir. Nearly every culture on the continent worships these deities in one form or another. Indeed, the Wood Elves of Valenwood revere them both. I wish, in this brief disquisition, to pose several questions about the origins of those gods, and then speculate upon the answers to those questions. We begin with Xerxes, as his worship, at least as recorded in written history, predates that of both Arche and Tuwaka. An elven deity who records the life stories of all the races of Aldmeri, Xerxes appears in multiple creation or origin stories, many of which are inconsistent with each other. While some of these origins may be false, their multiplicity may also merely be a reflection of Xerxes' manifold nature. In the two most common origin myths, Xerxes appears either as Oriel's scribe, recording events at his side since the beginning of time, or as a Merithic Aldmeri priest of Oriel, who was elevated to divinity by the higher deity. The latter story is consistent with the High Elves' conceit that they are directly descended from the Aedra and can, in certain miraculous circumstances, apothesize and reascend to godly status. For the Altmer, Xerxes records not just the life stories of individual elves, but all the connections of lineage and inheritance that bind them together and link them to their ancestors. As nothing is more important to an Altmer than his or her ancestry, it is easy to understand Xerxes' paramount role in defining and maintaining status and stability in Somerset society. Excuse me. Archaea, of course, is one of the 8 divines that were presented to the newly freed citizens of Cyrodiil by Saint Alessia at the founding of the First Empire. Though official dogma of the Church of the 8 holds that Alessia was merely revealing to her subjects gods who had been watching over them all along, scholarly research of documentary fragments that survive from early in the First Era hint at a different story. Kosei's Tamrielian tracts are well known, but I have also had the privilege of studying Sandraloth's Nedic Oblations and the anonymous Death Song for King Darodil in their original manuscripts. Comparisons of the latter two against each other illuminated several previously obscure passages in both, and the resulting clarification was the impetus for this paper. To come to the point, I believe I may well finally have enough evidence to confirm Sedulus' speculative theory of Archaean convergence. Most of my readers will doubtlessly be familiar with Sedulus' proposal that the archaea of the 8 divines is, in origin, a fusion of aspects of the elven deity Xerxes with those of the primal Atmoran death god Orchay. My new translation of the Death Song and its formerly ill-understood plea for soul guidance passages makes it clear that the psychopompt being addressed possesses attributes of both the elven and Atmoran deities. And once the proper vowel shift is applied, what is the name of that god? Tuarcha. Which brings us inevitably to the Yakutan deity Tuwaka. How long he was worshipped in that name by the human tribes of Yakuta is now unknowable, as all our race's records were lost in the cataclysm that sank the archipelago. But as even old Frestus had the wits to note, it cannot be a coincidence that Tuwaka performs the same functions for the Red Guards that Archaea and Xerxes do for Tamrielic men and Myrrh. Are these gods really separate and distinct deities, or are they all aspects of the same deity, worshipped under different names in different cultures? You may seek the answer elsewhere, for that is where scholarship ends and theology begins. Well, that's just what the Red Guards believe, that sneezing is, there's an evil spirit present. Although that's also, like, technically what, like, one of the old superstitions for the real world. I don't know where I'm going. I'm going in circles. Okay, now I gotta do quest.
Captain Rian and the Ivory Brigade will deal with the Dark Brotherhood. We're perfectly safe in here.
Your damn empire, Leviticus. It no longer exists, but it still causes us trouble.
You must be the mercenary that Captain Rian told me about. And I see you're working with Everly Sharparrow. Good. Good. I assume you have something to report. I'm listening.
Counselors Jarek and Sophis were murdered. These notes were left beside the bodies.
Damn it all to oblivion and back. I should have taken Pharaoh Lupus more seriously when I received his letter. This is definitely the mark of the Dark Brotherhood. Anything else to add to this?
Jarek and Sophis left behind documents, but part of them is written in code.
Yes, that's the Longhouse Emperor's code. Only a handful of Imperial scribes can decipher it. I know one. Baragon. I'll send for him at once. Meanwhile, we must warn the remaining counselors on the list. Eivor, Valeria, Itinia, and Vondacia.
Counselor Valeria is under guard and collecting her records from Tidewater Cave.
Very good. I've sent messages to Itinia and Vondacia already, as neither of them are currently within Leowin's jurisdiction. I need you to go to Fort Blueblood. Counselor Eibor has taken refuge there, but I'd prefer to have her here in Leyawen.
I'll go to Fort Blueblood and talk to Counselor Eibor.
Everything we do now must be swift if we are to get ahead of this. Go to Fort Blueblood and convince Counselor Eibor to return to the city. She'll be safer here than at the fort.
You must know more about Emperor Leovic's secret in the Ambitions.
Sadly, no. Whatever Leovic confided in Pharaoh Lupus and the others, whatever he ordered them to do, he kept it a complete secret from me. I suppose he assumed I wouldn't go along with anything illegal or Daedric, and he was right.
Weren't you the chief counselor of the Elder Council?
I was, but the Elder Council was made up of almost 24 counselors. According to the list Evely Sharparrow brought me, only 7 counselors were privy to this secret. Make that 6. I have no idea why Leovic listed me among that group.
There must have been some reason for your name being linked with the others.
Who knows what was going through Leovic's head when he wrote that entry in his journal. Varen and his rebels were literally pounding at the doors of the palace at the time. And Leovic wasn't totally in his right mind even before the rebellion.
Tell me more about the Longhouse Emperors.
The Longhouse Emperors were Reachmen, who seized control of the Empire and ruled for some 40 years.
Reachmen? Holy shit.
Dukarach the Black Drake founded the ruling house. Morikar ascended to the throne after his father's death, and his son Leovic followed him.
That explains the craziness, man. Oh, the Reachmen? And what happened to Leovic?
Leovic made a mistake. When he decided to declare Daedra worship as the law of the land, Duke Varen Aquilarios objected. He led a rebellion and personally dispatched Leovic in the Imperial throne room. Thus ended the Longhouse Emperor's reign.
Whoa, but that's not the end of the story.
Unfortunately, no. Varen disappeared a few years later and the Empire collapsed. Now the so-called alliances are fighting over the scraps and Tamriel is in shambles. We're doing all we can just to keep Blackwood safe and secure.
Why is Council Eibor at Fort Blueblood?
Eibor has always had an affinity for the Imperial military. When she received her letter of warning from Pharaoh Lupus, she sent word to me, told me she was going to the fort, that the soldiers would protect her. I fear she is badly mistaken.
You don't think the fort is safe?
Only a token force of Brigadines guards Fort
Oh.
Blueblood. If the Dark Brotherhood is truly our enemy, I fear a lone assassin can bypass the fort's defenses with relative ease. Eibor would be better off here in the castle. Go and bring her back at once.
Yeah, it's not like a fully loaded castle. What the heck?
To the east across the river. I'll meet you there.
Oh, I have to do things, huh? What do I have to do? Excuse me. I think with us stopping to read books all the time, it's going to take a great deal longer than normal to do this quest line, which is fine by me. But, so I don't know if y'all saw, I did the post on my channel post, and then I also posted a Blue Sky, which should have automatically posted to the Discord. But I'm going to do a month-by-month schedule from now on.
Over here. Rockgrove begs for your aid.
Sorry, dude. I can't do Brockgrove by myself. I'm just a little baby. I'm not, but whatever. So I posted what my schedule will be. We'll be doing, so 1 week we have Palea, 1 week we have ESO, but 2 weeks we're going to be playing, Garden Life Simulator, I believe it's called. I set it up for 2 weeks because, I'm going to try not to go over my 2-hour streams. You know, I've been going over them a lot. Well, I'm going to try not to go over my 2-hour streams, and that particular game, it's like 20 to 40 hours. And so we'll see if I can't do it in 2 weeks. But there is also a break scheduled for halfway through. I figure if I schedule my breaks, maybe it'll be easier. Like, it won't be so much surprise when I take my breaks. Because I need the break.
We can use this.
It just kind of is what it is. And I'm hoping if I schedule my break, it's like, it won't be as bad. Because I've been taking the breaks, but they've been like surprise breaks. And then also at the same time, I'm going to attempt to schedule all of my appointments that I need to get done into that 1 week. We'll see how that works out.
Look, Counselor Leviticus and Captain Rianne sent me. I need to see Counselor Abor now.
And what about my sister? She hasn't been seen since she took the counselor her meal.
Counselor Abor was very clear about this. She doesn't want to be disturbed. Oh, another mercenary. Is our Ivory Brigade so enfeebled that Captain Rianne must resort to hiring sellswords? Look, as I told the Wood Elf, Counselor Abor was quite insistent. She doesn't want to be disturbed.
Captain Rianne and Counselor Leviticus sent us. Do you really want to get in the way of our mission?
All right, enough. I can see when I'm being overruled. Very well. I give you permission to enter the watchtower. Counselor Abor's safety is now in your hands.
Why is that servant in an uproar? Excuse me.
Oh, something about his sister. She's another servant here at the fort. Works in the kitchen, I believe. Apparently, she brought the counselor her meal. He says she never returned, but the servants look for any opportunity to sneak off.
Why did Counselor Abor come to Fort Blueblood?
The counselor demanded we protect her. Said her life was in danger, but refused to give me any details. Imperial confidentiality, she insisted, above my station. I put her up in the watchtower and assigned a couple of brigadines to guard her.
Okay, let's do this.
Oh no! Counselor Abor's been murdered! The Dark Brotherhood's calling card.
Unlike most of the Elder Council, I was an Emperor Leovic's confidant. I knew the truth of the Longhouse Emperor's secret, most of it anyway, me and the High Priest. At the time, it felt like an honor to be included. Now I'm in fear for my life and hiding in this damn watchtower. I decided it would be best to write down everything I know, about the 4 ambitions and how they were created, about the deal with Mehrunes Dagon, everything. I may be the only one who knows the location of the new vaults, where Emperor Leovic had the ambitions moved to as Varen's forces drew closer. I suspected that all of this was over, that it ended with the death of Leovic and the fall of the Longhouse Emperors. According to the letter I received from Pharaoh Lupus, I was wrong. What follows are the locations of 3 vaults containing the 4 ambitions. The next few pages have been torn out and removed.
Of course they tore out the pages and took them, just when we were so close to finding out more about the ambitions. Abor's meal is still warm. So what happened to the servant that delivered it? We have a door locked from the outside, a dead counselor, and a missing servant. Did the assassin take off with both the torn-out journal pages and the servant? Anyway, they not only murdered Abor, they probably know how to find the ambitions now.
How did the murderer get in and out of the watchtower without the brigands noticing?
See that rope hanging from the top of the tower? Bet my bottom acorn that's how the assassin got in and out. But the missing servant... something about that is knocking on the back of my head. And why would the Dark Brotherhood take those pages?
Maybe the Dark Brotherhood wants the Daedric weapons for themselves.
Maybe. But everything I've read about the Dark Brotherhood never suggested they would be interested in weapons of war, if that's even what the ambitions are. Damn it, we're loosing arrows in the dark here. Let's tell Commander Orton about Abor.
Okay, you do that. I'm gonna go poke upstairs. This is the... what? I guess it's storage. That makes sense.
So, will Counselor Abor be returning with you to Leowyn? Am I finally going to be able to get my fort back in order?
Counselor Abor has been murdered.
Murdered? Gods, keep your voice down. Do you want to start a panic?
Let's do
Tell
it.
me
Let's
what
start a
you found
panic.
in the watchtower.
Ebor's meal was still warm but untouched, and the assassin left a calling card.
Let me see that. A black handprint. The sign of the Dark Brotherhood. But where is the servant, Talais? Is she involved in this fiasco? And how did she and the assassin get out of the watchtower? My brigandines never left their post.
There was a rope hanging from the ceiling of the watchtower.
Well, that explains some of it, but not all. We need to locate Talais. Since you're already involved and working for Captain Rian, I want you to quietly try to find Talais. Start by talking to the other servants in the kitchen and dining hall.
Cool. Okay. Books. Closing the octal cage, or a defense against the plane meld. Unnatural anchors blight the skies of Tamriel. Those learned in such matters know they herald the plane meld, a Daedric plot of unfathomable darkness. But in times when all hope seems lost, the 8 divines provide. We can salvage our future by looking to the past. The chancel of divine entity is our first bulwark against Molag Bal's devious plot. The peculiar construction of this Ayleid ruin should be immediately apparent to a scholar of the 8 divines. The symmetrical nature of its construction, the altar plate below the 8-tined arch, and the harmonic blending of tonal triptychs reveal the divine hand in its formation. Should one blow a large enough horn within the chancel's walls, its clarion call would be heard as far as Eldenroot. After extensive research, I believe this to be one piece of the long-rumored octal cage. There should be 7 ruins identical to this scattered throughout Tamriel. Where, I do not know, but I shall locate them all. Then I will find the 8 hollowed clarions mentioned in the apocryphal accounts of the Ayleid loss of Sancrator to Alessia. A daunting task, but the octal cage was thought capable of sealing the Daedric princes away from Nirn for good. Sounding a hollowed clarion in all 8 ruins all at the same time may be enough to bring the octal cage to life. I depart in the morning. If my task proves fruitless, so be it. We must all oppose the harvester of souls as best we can. Until then, and you who calls the god of schemes their enemy may avail themselves of my laboratory. I was hoping for a cookbook.
This one is certain.
Then where could she be? She would never neglect her duties.
Probably found a dark corner and someone to snuggle with. This one does that all the time. Pleasant days, visitors. How can this one assist you?
Commander Orton asked us to find Talais. Any idea where we should look?
Ah, Talais. She worries her brother so. She asked me where we kept the hot root flakes. Counselor Eibor sprinkles them on every dish. I told her they are in the pantry, but you need the key from the kitchen to unlock the door.
I want to steal this. It looks like squid. See, it looks like squid. That's venison steak. That doesn't look like venison steak. That looks like squid. That doesn't look like risotto. Boo.
All right, grab a broom and start sweeping.
What? No, that's Talais' job.
And do you see Talais anywhere?
Another new face in the fort?
Then start
First Counselor Eibor, now you and that cute wood elf. Look, I'd love to chat, but Talais has wandered off and left me to handle her chores.
I'm trying to find Talais. Any idea where we should look?
She took the counselor her meal and hasn't returned. Did you check the watchtower? Eibor's a little old, but maybe Talais decided to improve her station, if you catch my meaning. Eibor reeks of fear. Maybe Talais finds that attractive.
What do you mean the counselor reeks of fear?
Well, she's been acting like a frightened guar since she arrived. Stays locked up in the watchtower. Only lets a single servant in at a time. And I hear she's been burning papers. Documents of some kind. She's scared out of her wits, if you ask me.
The servants come to the kitchen to mutter and gossip. This one will not have it. Misaba asks that you do not distract them overly long, as they are already naturally lazy. What is it that you need?
Commander Orton asked us to locate Therese. Any idea where she might be?
That young woman. She has not returned from the watchtower, so her chores remain
Excuse me.
undone. And she took the pantry key with her when she went. It is no longer hanging on its hook. That is a clear violation of the kitchen rules. A clear violation.
Where's the pantry?
The pantry is in the cellar, but the door is around the side of the building. Therese mumbled something about how the counselor loves hot root flakes, grabbed the key and the tray of food and went off. This one hasn't seen her since.
Okay.
Before we check the pantry, let's talk. So, what did we learn? Counselor Abor was frightened, but that's understandable. Interesting that she was burning documents. Her journal indicated that she knew more than the others. And Therese visited the pantry before heading to the watchtower.
Do you think we should take a look in the pantry?
Couldn't hurt. And every mystery novel I ever read taught me you should always follow up on every clue, even the ones that seem insignificant. Let's check the pantry and see if she was looking for more than hot root flakes down there.
Okay. I want to go upstairs. Can I go upstairs? Ooh, I can poke around upstairs. Books. 2 bookshelves. Oh, hey! The Order of the Waking Flame. An expose by Peregrina Pompilitus. Now pay attention, rapt readers. This chronicler, over the course of these pages, will reveal the truth about the latest fancy sweeping through the nobility of Blackwood. Some believe it is nothing more than a glorified social club for the movers and shakers of Leowyn and Gideon. Others assume it is a harmless indulgence for the bored and wealthy. Oh no, rapt reader, the Order of the Waking Flame is much more insidious than that. Authority figures familiar with the movement, including officers in the Ivory Brigade, consider the group to be a relatively new philosophers' club. Harmless, they say. Just another amusement created in the back rooms of fancy inns and taverns. They could not be more wrong. The Order of the Waking Flame is much more than that. In reality, it is a dangerous Daedric cult devoted to none other than the so-called Prince of Destruction, Mehrunes Dagon. What do these fanatic Dagonists want? It's obvious, really. They seek nothing less than the total destruction of Tamriel, perhaps even all of Nirn. Allow me to explain in more detail. My in-depth research has led me to the following conclusions. 1. What appears to be a newly formed gathering of like-minded thinkers of wealth and means is in fact a large organization that has been operating in secret since at least the time of Emperor Morcar, and quite possibly even before that. 2. They are indeed a religious organization devoted to the tenets of a Daedric prince. 3. The Daedric prince they revere is Mehrunes Dagon, Prince of Destruction and Lord of Flood and Fire. 4. The cult has ties to the Longhouse Emperors, but unraveling that part of their history has been difficult to say the least. 5. This humble chronicler believes the cult has come out of hiding because it is planning to perform some spectacular demonstration of its faith and devotion. I fear it will also be devastating on the scale of cataclysmic natural disaster. As for the organization of the Order itself, my research indicates that the group is led by a high priest whose identity has so far eluded me. Individual cells within the cult are under the command of powerful personages known as Doombringers. Other high ranks include Dicitrix, Razor, and Devastator. Charming, am I right? If titles such as these don't speak to the true nature of this order, then allow me to pull back one final curtain. I was able to infiltrate a Waking Flame ceremony that took place in an old ruin near Gideon. It was a simple matter to follow a few suspected cultists, borrow one of their robes, and hang near the back to watch and observe. The ceremony I witnessed chilled me to the bone. A Doombringer led the solemn ritual. It began with prayers and exaltations to Dagon. Oh no! I skipped. Though they mostly refer to him by one of his many overblown titles, O exalted and most puissant Lord Prince of Ambition, Father of Cataclysm, and the like. Then they call for Dagon to bless him with the power to accomplish his will on Nirn. Next came a complex and disturbing ritual that involved plumes of lava from nowhere, a violent storm that appeared over their altar, and curtains of fire and lightning ripping above the crowd. It was impressive and frightening at the same time. Before I slipped away, I heard the Doombringer proclaim, Lord Dagon, we stand ready. Lord Dagon, show us your ambitions. Lord Dagon, your revolution is our revolution. Nirn shall be yours. I fear we've only heard the first verses of this chant. Destruction is coming. Rapt readers, be ready. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, 2 more books. Does it count? Nope, that count. Fire and Darkness, The Brotherhoods of Death, Part 1 by Near Gorming. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I was changing how I was sitting. Brother, I should still call you your brother, for we share our bonds of blood, tested but unbroken by hatred. Even if I am murdered, which seems inevitable now, know that, brother, you and I are not innocents, so our benedictions of mutual enmity is not tragedy but horror. This state of silent shadowed war, of secret poisons and sleeping men strangled in their beds, of the sudden arrow and the artful dagger, has no end that I can see, no possibility for peace. I see the shadows in the room move across the flame of my candle. Is steady, I know the signs that I... This note was found where it had fallen beneath the floorboards of an abandoned house in the Nord village of Jonheim, the 358th year of the Second Era. It was said that a quiet cobbler lived in the house, whispered by some to be a member of the dread Morag Tong, the Assassin's Guild outlawed throughout Tamriel, 34 years previously. The house itself was perfectly in order, as if the cobbler had simply vanished. There was a single drop of blood on the note. The Dark Brotherhood had paid a call. This note, and others like it, are rare. Both the Morag Tong and its hated child, the Dark Brotherhood, are scrupulous about leaving no evidence behind. Their members know how to divulge secrets of their orders. That to divulge secrets of their orders is a lethal infraction. This obviously makes the job of the historian seeking to trace their histories very difficult. Yeah, this seems like their diaries. The Morag Tong, according to most scholars, had been a facet of the culture of Morrowind almost since its beginning. After all, the history of Risden, the ancient name of Morrowind, is rife with assassination, blood sacrifice, and religious zealotry, hallmarks of the Order. It's commonly said that the Morag Tong then, as now, murdered for the glory of the Daedra Prince Mephala, but common assumptions are rarely completely accurate. It is my contention that the earliest form of the Tong additionally worshipped an even older and more malevolent deity than Mephala. As terrifying as that Prince of Oblivion is, they had and have reverence for a far greater evil. Writs of assassination from the First Era offer rare glimpses into the Morag Tong's earliest philosophy. They are as matter of fact as current-day writs, but many contain snatches of poetry which have perplexed our scholars for hundreds of years. Lisping sibilant hisses, ether's sweet sway, rancid kiss of passing sin, and other strange, almost insane insertions into the writs were codes for the name of the person to be assassinated, his or her location, and the time at which death was to come. They were also direct references to the divine spirit called Sithis. The Blackfin Foreign Adventures Part 2. Heck yeah, there's Part 2! By Misi, squire and personal aide to Kishu the Blackfin. Oh, so when we left off in that last book, they had just freed their first round of slaves from House Strez. Okay. Now the declaration of the formation of the Ebonheart Pact and the abolition of Argonian slavery didn't result in the immediate cessation of all Dark Elf slaver activity. It would take almost a full year for most of the Dark Elf provinces and holdings to comply with the order of the tribunal, and even then there were Dark Elf houses that refused to accept the new accords. This resulted in a few awkward situations for Kishu and her Blackfin Legion as it toured the land of Morrowind as the initial Argonian representatives to the Alliance. We met with a good amount of fear and hatred during those early days of the Alliance. Some Dark Elves became very uncomfortable when a heavily armed force of Argonians approached their town or village. At these, we were turned away at best or attacked by settlements with sizable militias. Others, though, have heard the story of the Battle of Ebonheart, appeared grateful for our help, and were happy to welcome us into their homes. While such treatment is much more common now, back then it was nearly unheard of, and we were both surprised and thankful for every friendly face we encountered. We spent that first year of the Alliance in Dark Elf territory, making our presence known and working to make sure that all of the tenets of the agreements were adhered to. We also took in many of the newly freed Argonians, giving the ones who decided not to return to Blackmarsh or try to make a go of it as a free sexile in Morrowind an immediate purpose and a place to belong. In this way, the Blackfin Legion continued to grow even as it traveled throughout Morrowind. Eventually, we arrived at Marnhold as guests of the tribunal. We spent nearly a month camped outside the city and regularly met with Almalexia and other important Dark Elf and Nord officials. Kishu participated in discussions to bolster the defense of the Pact by forming an Army of the Alliance, which would include forces donated by each of the member nations. As we were looking for a purpose, Kashu volunteered the Black Fin Legion to serve as the backbone of the newly allied army. In time, Kashu would become not only a war hero, but one of the foremost generals leading Pact forces. Before that initial year had ended, Kashu and the Black Fin Legion would prove their worth to the Pact by once again saving the day. Uh-oh. There we go. I guess I cut out for a second. Alright, this time it was to deal with raiders crossing the mountains from the west. Rumors abounded that the raiders were either funded by the Daggerfall Covenant or were Covenant soldiers in disguise, but we were never able to prove that. When the reports of a large band of raiders attacking dark elf settlements in western Morrowind reached Mournhold, Kashu offered to take the Pact army on a hunting expedition. Kashu's forces consisted of mostly Blackfin legionnaires, bolstered by a contingent of Nord soldiers and squadron of dark elf mages and healers. We moved quickly, following the path of destruction left by the raiders until we finally caught them at Indrano Pass. Kashu divided our forces, sending half of our contingent around to cut off the raiders' escape path into the mountains, while the rest of our troops formed an arrowhead and advanced on the raiders' position. Instead of holding fast, the raiders decided to turn and run. That's when our troops swarmed out of the rocky foothills, and we caught the raiders between us. After all the trouble they caused, we expected them to put up more of a fight. I wonder if there's going to be a third book. Alright, we're back to search the pantry. I almost forgot what the part of the quest we were on was.
Is that... Damn it! Why would the Dark Brotherhood murder... Oh no! We need to talk about this! Alright, I think I figured it out. The assassin followed Therese down here, murdered her, and took her place so they could gain access to the watchtower. Pretty clever, but they didn't have to kill her.
Does this sound like the usual way the Dark Brotherhood operates?
No, not from what I've read anyway. I thought they only killed those whose names appeared on their contracts. I can't imagine anyone asked them to kill a poor servant.
Should we return to Leowyn and inform Council Leviticus and Captain Rayanne?
Yes, but we still need to check on Councillor Valeria. And someone needs to go to Gideon and make sure that Councillor Vandacia is alright. Can I leave those tasks to you? I want to return to Leowyn and consult with Councillor Leviticus.
Thank you, Chico. Yes, read something. Or drink something. I can check with Valeria and Ventica, but we also need to inform Commander Orton about this murder.
Oh, good point. Before you head out, report to Commander Orton. Tell him what happened to Therese, and how we think the assassin slipped into the watchtower undetected. His brigadiers need to be able to recognize an imposter when they see one.
I'll report to the commander, contact the 2 remaining counselors, and then meet you in Leowyn.
After you report to the commander, make contact with Councillors Valeria and Vandacia. Valeria went to Tidewater Cave to get her records, and Vandacia works in the Gideon courthouse. Cracked acorns! I suddenly had the weirdest feeling come over me.
Evely, are you alright?
Yes. No, I don't know. We were talking about the counselors, Valeria and Vandacia. Suddenly I had a premonition. It was brief and disturbing and mildly unpleasant, like the dreams I've been having. But this is the first time while I was awake.
Tell me about the dreams.
Remember I told you about that strange book I found? The one with the Daedric writing that I can't read? I've been having bad dreams since I found it, and the dreams are becoming more frequent. This time it happened right while we were talking.
Tell me about the premonition. Oh no!
One of the Waking Flame cultists, I think. Someone powerful.
Nope, that's part 2 again. I'm having a hard time interacting with these bookshelves. The bookshelves are denying me, no! Yeah, I can't touch them. If you don't want me to read the book... What? What is going on? Oh no, I think I'm glitched. Oh, and so there's March Giants, which we already read today. Song of Perennial, Volume 8, on his revelation at the death of Al-Esh. Editor's note: this is the oldest and most fragmentary of all the extant perennial texts. It is, however, likely closest to the original spoken or sung form of the song, and therefore has great value despite its brevity. Strangely, it appears that Perennial is present at Alessia's deathbed, although he was killed by Umaril earlier in the saga, years before Alessia's death. Some scholars believe that this fragment is not actually a part of the Song of Perennial, but most accept its authenticity, although there is still much debate as to its significance. And left you to gather sinew with my other half, who will bring light thereby to that mortal idea that brings the gods great joy, that is freedom which even the heavens do not truly know, which is why our father, the text lost, is those first days spirit swirls before convention. That which we echoed in our earthly madness, let us now take you up. We will show our true faces, which eat one another in amnesia each age. That was a jumble of words. Rizlov the Righteous, Part 1, by Sinjin. Like all true heroes, Rizlov Larik had inauspicious beginnings. We are told by chroniclers that the springtide night in the 448th year of the first era on which he was born was unseasonably cold, and that his mother, Queen Leonada, died very shortly after setting eyes upon her son. If he were much beloved of his father, King Myrunes of Skingrad, who already had plenty of heirs, 3 sons and 4 daughters before him, the chroniclers make no mention of it. His existence was so very undistinguished that we hear virtually nothing of him for the first 20 years of his life. His schooling, we can suppose, was similar to that of any spare prince in the Clovian West, with alien tutors to teach him the ways of hunting and battle. Etiquette, religious instruction, and even basic statecraft were seldom a part of the training of a prince of the Highlands, as it was in the more civilized valley of Nibene. There is a brief reference to him, together with his family, as part of the rolls of honor during the coronation of the Emperor Gorius on the 23rd of Sun's Dawn, First Era 461. The ceremony, of course, held during the time of the Alessian doctrines of Maruk, and so was without entertainment, but the 13-year-old Rizla was still witness to some of the greatest figures of legend. The beast of Inequina, Durlock Bray, represented his kingdom, giving honor to the empire. The chieftain of Skyrim, Kiorik the White, and his son Hogue were in attendance, and despite the empire's intolerance of all elves, Chimrin Doril Nerevar and Dwemer Dumok Dwarf King were evidently there as well, diplomatically representing Resdane, all in relative peace. Also mentioned on the rolls was a young Mer in service to the imperial court of High Rock, who was to have a great history with Rizlov, Range Rennie. Whether the 2 young men of about the same age met and conversed is entirely the stuff of historian's fancy. Rain is spoken of in praising words as a powerful landowner, eventually buying the island of Belfier and the Illic Bay and gradually conquering all of High Rock and large parts of Hammerfell and Skyrim. But Rizlov is not heard of again in history books for another 17 years. We can only offer supposition based on the facts that follow. Children of kings are, of course, married to the children of other kings to bind alliances. The kingdoms of Skingrad and Kvatch skirmished over common territory throughout the 5th century until they reached a peace in the year 472. The details of this accord are not recorded, but since we know that Prince Rizlov was in the court of Kvatch 6 years later as husband to Belaine, the daughter of King Justinius, it is fair to make an educated guess that they were married then to make peace. This brings us to the year 478, when a great plague swept through all of Cyrodiil and seemed particularly concentrated in the independent Colovian West. Among the victims were King Morris and the rest of the entire royal family in Skingrad. Rizlov's only surviving elder brother, Dorild, survived being in the imperial city as a priest of Maruk. He returned to his homeland to assume the throne. Of Dorild we have some history. The king's second son was slightly simple-minded and evidently very pious. All the chroniclers spoke of his sweetness and decency, how he saw a vision in his early years that brought him, with his father's blessing, from Skingrad to the imperial city and the priesthood. The priesthood of Maruk, of course, saw no difference between spiritual and political matters. It was the religion of the Alessian Empire, and it taught that to resist the emperor was to resist the gods, given that it is scarcely a surprise that what Dorald did when he became king of the independent kingdom of Skingrad. His first edict on his very first day was to succeed the kingdom to the empire. The reaction throughout the Colovian estates was shock and outrage, nowhere more so than in the court of Kovach. Rizlev Larik, we are told, rode forth to his brother's kingdom together with his wife and 24 of his father-in-law's cavalry. It was surely not an impressive army, no matter how the chroniclers embellish it, but they had little trouble defeating all of the Guardstorald sent to stop them. In truth, there was no actual battling. The soldiers of Skingrad resented their new king's decision to give up their autonomy. The brothers faced one another in the castle courtyard where they had grown up. In typical Colovian fashion, there was no trial, no accusation of treason, no jury, no judge, only an executioner. "Thou art no brother of mine," Rizlav Lorak said, and struck Dorald's head from his shoulders in one blow. He was crowned king of Skringrad, still holding the same bloody axe in his arms. That's one way to do it. Oh, cool. I was summoned by a mortal, by Kinval Zindthik of Clan Deathbringer. For as long as I can remember, and like all Dremora, my memory is keen, especially for grievances, I have faithfully served the officers of my clan, and through them, my lord Molag Bal. And yet, not always, for once, to my shame, I was compelled to serve another. I was on guard duty at the Endless Stair, an assignment I always enjoy, for I can mock and torment the passing soul-shriven without being held responsible for them meeting their quotas. Leaping out from behind a claw pillar while shouting, "There you are, weakling," just never loses its appeal. I was lurking behind a dark anchor chain link, preparing to terrify an approaching soul-shriven by suddenly knocking her down and sneering, "No match at all," when I suddenly felt a strange tingling all over, from my horns down to my toes. I grew dizzy as the plane spun around me, nearly fell into a pool of blue plasma, and then suddenly felt myself hurled into an endless black void. Molag baseball. Excuse me. I wasn't alarmed at first, because who hasn't been hurled into an endless black void? It wasn't until I began to materialize at my destination and got a taste of the air that I had my first misgivings. "I smell weakness," I said to myself, and I couldn't have been more right. It was then that I first heard the voice of my conjurer as he said, "Ah, this one looks fairly robust," and the full horror of my situation broke upon me, for I had been summoned to do the bidding of a mortal. I turned, aghast, to see who had dared summon me across the infinities to Nirn, and found myself faced with a tall elf of Somerset. Oh, I recognized the type. I had abused more than a few Altmiri's soul-shriven in my time, and with gusto, for they evince a haughty arrogance entirely inappropriate in mere mortals. This one gave me a brief appraising look and then turned away, saying, "Follow and fight. There are worm cultists that need slaying." Worm cultists? Can you imagine the ignominy of fellowkin? Not only had I been conjured away from my duty by one of the hated elven mortals, but I must serve him by slaying the minions of Menimarco, our dread lord's lieutenant and viceroy to be. I tried to resist, flexing my indomitable will, but the mortal mage's binding spell was too strong. All I could do was say, "No one escapes," and follow him past a pair of torches into a subterranean maze of tunnels. "You serve the great Vanis Galarian, Dramora," my conjurer announced, quite unnecessarily, for what need had I to know the name of my slave master? But then I reconsidered, and mentally added his name to the long list each of us keeps, the list labeled Vengeance. I followed, not deigning to crouch when my conjurer hunched over to sneak, merely glaring at him and thinking, "I will feast upon your heart." In truth, however, it was as well that I had this elf Vanis to follow, for the tunnels were many and twisting, and though we Dremora are fearless, relentless, and unparalleled among warriors throughout Oblivion, our sense of direction is rather poor. When doing courier duty, I've always been known to lose my way right in the middle of the moonless walk and wind up back at the lightless Obulette where I started. In time, this Vanis began to pause frequently, listening, which only increased my irritation and impatience. Finally he stopped, with a shh to me, which was completely unfair as I hadn't said a word, but I realized why he'd stopped when I suddenly heard human speech from the tunnel ahead. Hesitating, nary an instant, I drew my greatsword and rushed forward, crying, "A challenger is near!" The elf cursed and followed, but he had only himself to blame. I was following his orders exactly. The next minute passed in a red fury that all true Dremora feel when they enter battle, but my usual enjoyment of bloody slaughter was tainted by the knowledge that I was killing those my dread lord would prefer I didn't, and frankly, that just ruined the whole experience for me. As I lopped off the limbs and heads of the worm cultists, I was aware of the energies of the elf's powerful magics crackling past me, incinerating the more distant enemies, but I was too mortified to enjoy the orgy of destruction. The elf came striding up as I subdivided the final worm anchorite, gloating, "So much for them. Take that, Manamarco." "There could be no other end," I replied sourly, then felt a strange tingling again as the conjuration that had brought me to Nirn began to weaken. As the bonds dissolved, I took one menacing step toward the elf, but then the plane spun around me again, and it was back into the endless black void. When I came to my senses, I was lying in a pool of turquoise slime, looking up at the smiling face of my superior, Conreeve Zorking. "So, Xander Cathik," he snarled, "straying from your post on duty, eh? It's the Skaith rings for you, my lad." "But Kynreeve," I cried, leaping to attention, I couldn't help it. I was conjured, summoned to Nirn by a mortal." Zlarkwork smiled even wider, "And that'll be an extra shift scathing for telling such a hornless lie. Now march, Xandkith," he shouted, thumping me with his trecon. "Left, right, left, right, left, right." I hate it when Zerk King smiles. Kynreeve or not, his name's going on my list. Manny Taco! What is Manny Taco? Okay, so we got all those stories, and it's time to call it a day, so we're going to climb out of Fort Blueblood. Look at my little chicken. Look at my little chicken. He's darn cute. And tomorrow, when we get together for lunch, we will continue talking to Commander Orton. I hope you enjoyed your time with me today. I enjoyed my time with you. If you would like to catch up with the rest of this that we do tomorrow, I would suggest clicking that subscribe button. Or follow button. My goodness, I'm still caught up in the whole Twitch thing. The follow button so that you get notified when I go live again. Also, if you go into the description, you can find the link for the Discord so that you can get the notification that way as well. And also join us when we do our community nights on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. This week is all ESO, next week is all Palea, and then next month we'll be doing Garden Life Simulator. That's the game that we'll be playing as our one new game to try. Cozy games, because I like myself some cozy games when I'm not venturing about in worlds like Tamriel. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Same time being noon Central Time. I hope you'll have a good day. I did. Talk to you later. Bye.